Threw an empty detergent container in rage after my wife called me names. Now she's threatening charges and ending our marriage. Several weeks ago my wife, 7 years, 2 kids, and I bought a new mattress, and she also bought new sheets to put on. The old ones sat in the laundry room floor for a couple weeks. Tossing some junk recently, I had the dumb idea to toss the old sheets too, thinking we have new ones now. Wife decides to wash all sheets today and asks where the old ones are. When I explain, she goes ballistic. After she called me a effing retard, I lost it, yelling at the top of my lungs to never call me that, and I threw an empty detergent container against the wall and stormed out of the house. I don't want to write a novel, so I'll just say this has happened a couple times before and I get really triggered when the attacks go to insulting names. We agreed we'd never cross the line again, and yet here we are. After walking about an hour, she calls and texts and I don't answer or look, not ready. After some breathing, I check it and she wants to know where I put something in the garage. I burst out in tears because after all that I can't believe this is what she texts me about. I text her the info, then turn off my phone. I walk for another hour, calm down and check text. Not cool. You whipping things at me has to stop. Next time I will press charges. You hit me with the Tide bottle that never happened. I text her, so then power off my phone again. I do a lot of walking and thinking and my emotions are all over the place. About 2 hours later she calls me and starts going on a tirade that I've been gone for hours and I better find somewhere else to sleep tonight. I walk for hours, then check into a hotel. A couple more hours and she asks where I am. When I tell her, she says I've abandoned my family, I'm the most selfish person she knows, and she's done with me. I can't stop cycling between anger, sadness, and fear. I always feel powerless and compelled to apologize, but that my wife doesn't respect me to call me such names. I don't want to blow up my life, but I don't want to lose my dignity. Maybe a fool's choice. Any advice? First, thanks for all the replies. It was eye-opening seeing the range of opinions. Some people claiming I'm a moron/pussy/toddler/etc, and others saying lawyer up because I'm being manipulated/gaslighted/emotionally abused/etc. The one takeaway I had was that I definitely have some issues and need some kind of therapy and my marriage is not healthy. Update 1. The next morning after some deep reflection I tried calling, but there was no answer, which wasn't too surprising since she starts work early. I followed up with a text. I'm coming by to pick up the key to the house. We need to talk tonight. We have much deeper issues in our marriage than I thought. It might be time for counseling. She replied she's not giving me her key and to not come. It's normal for me to occasionally drop by her work to pick up/drop off things. Reception knows me. I respond that I need to get in the house to get ready for work and she says that's my problem. I could have come home last night. Then she says I can go to her parents' house and ask for their key. With no access to a car, it would take me a few hours to get there and back by transit. I could have called a taxi or a locksmith, but honestly both options felt a bit humiliating and expensive. Without access to my work computer or a clean change of clothes, I decide to call work and take a sick day. My daughter has a soccer game that night and it's a pretty long journey by transit, so I spend a good part of the day journeying across the city, stopping to grab a bite or drink along the way, doing a lot of thinking. My phone is almost dead, so I text her that I have no way to charge it and I'll see her at the game tonight. She replies that she is not driving me home, I can take the bus. At the game I get the silent treatment. Her father is there too and asks how I'm doing. I lie and say I'm okay. After the game my daughter asks if she can ride home in my car. As I open my mouth, my wife shoots me a dirty look and mouths, "Don't you dare." It's obvious that she hasn't told anybody about what happened. Her father thinks I drove to the game. I decide to just go with it and say I'll meet them at home, walking towards a nearby bus stop. I get home around 10 p.m. and knock. She lets me in and gives me an earful about how disgusted she is with me. She asks me if I think what I did was okay. Shamefully I apologize and say how wrong I was. She goes up to our room and closes the door after tossing my pillow and a blanket out on the floor. The next morning, aka today, she leaves for work without saying a word to me. I want to give some more context because I think people jump to a lot of conclusions about me being a hot-headed husband on a short fuse or something. If anybody who knew me heard that people were suggesting anger management classes, they would spray coffee out their nose all over the keyboard while laughing right out of their chair. They'd tell you I'm the calmest, most resilient person they've ever known. Most people say I have an uncanny ability to create calmness in others, and can diffuse any situation. Strangers regularly pull me aside to tell me I have the patience of Job. I have no idea who that is, but apparently he's pretty patient. My wife has a short fuse and I diffuse her anger pretty regularly, even when she's up in my face yelling like a toddler. Even she says she relies on me to calm her down. I'm her voice of reason. I've been with my wife 17 years, we dated 10 years before marriage, and although there have been countless heated arguments, this is exactly the second time that I've lost my shit, ever. And the first time I've ever thrown something. When I said this has happened before several times, I meant the part where she insults me. I didn't throw anything at her, we were about 10 feet apart. There's no way it touched her in any way. I'm not excusing my behavior, what I did was terrible and completely uncalled for. Clearly I have an issue, just that anger management isn't the best bang for my buck when it comes to therapy options right now. I'd rather find out why I became so triggered to begin with instead of learning techniques that I likely already use. On the actual argument, I took full responsibility. I tried to explain that I wasn't sure where the sheets were and it's possible I threw them out. When she started referring to my stupidity and saying there's something wrong with my brain, I shouted, "Please stop, you're crossing the line," after which she went into full attack mode and I subsequently blew up. The whole argument lasted under a minute. I've never seen something escalate so fast. I barely knew what was going on. On why it took me hours to calm down, I was so upset I was shaking, my heart was racing, and my breathing was intense. I don't know why I reacted so strong, but I didn't want to engage with her again until I could at least physiologically return to normal. On my being stupid and throwing out the sheets, so it turns out I didn't throw out the sheets. I washed them and put them in a bag, but it was around the corner and out of sight. I sometimes struggle to remember where all the shit is in our house and it drives my wife nuts. If things didn't escalate so fast we would have found them in a minute, tops. On the other time I lost my shit. This is hard for me to write because I have a lot of shame and embarrassment from it, but maybe others will have some insights. It was 2 years ago and we were in an argument that was getting very heated and escalating. I tried stepping away and went to the basement to get something from the fridge. My wife followed me down the stairs and kept the argument going. I told her enough and I want to go back upstairs, and she said no, we're not done yet. I was cornered and she was unloading on me, and then something inside me snapped. I felt an adrenaline rush like nothing I've experienced before and my eyes shot wide open. I started yelling like a maniac, the same thing over and over again: "Leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone." She took a step back and said, "What's wrong with you?" I saw the space and bolted, running up the stairs and into the bedroom, and she chased me telling me to calm down, but I was completely hysterical. I grabbed my shoes and headed towards the door, but she threw herself in front, blocking me so I couldn't leave. Our house only has one door. I tried to pry her off the door and she struggled with me and started yelling that I was hurting her. I got scared and just dropped to the floor, huddled in a corner and sobbing, "Leave me alone," over and over. She stood there and eventually asked me if I was going to leave, and I said no, and she walked away. I don't know how long it took me to get back up again and turn around to face my family. I was so ashamed and embarrassed by how out of control I was. My wife claimed that when I bolted I knocked her down and she injured herself. She threatened to charge me if it ever happened again. I don't remember her falling and was really skeptical at the time. We didn't talk for weeks. When we did, we agreed that we need to have mutual respect for each other while arguing and can never let things escalate like that again. I'm in the figurative doghouse. I'm going to pay for what I've done through cold stares, unnecessary snapping, making my life inconvenient at every turn, until she's satisfied that I've fallen back in line and things can go back to normal. I've seen this pattern before and I know how it goes. When things go back to normal we can talk about her behavior, but bringing it up now will just be reframed as me making her the villain and trying to play victim. I'm going to get therapy. It's not an easy step. I've been really successful in life, but one thing I struggle with is asking for help. I need to understand what's happening to me. My behavior is some seriously messed up unhealthy shit. And my marriage is not what I thought it was. I deeply regret the whole incident. I wish I didn't act childish and turn off my phone. I wish I came back to the house and tried to work things out. I'm not sure what I was thinking, except that I was really shaken about what happened and calling into question if my wife even loved me. I was scared to enter into another argument or conversation without getting some clarity first, and I really wanted some sign from my wife that she wanted me to come back, or at least acknowledge that things got out of control. I'm going to try and get my wife into therapy and marriage counseling together. I'm not sure if she will. In her mind this is all my shit to deal with, and there's a very big stigma around any kind of therapy/mental health issues in her family. Embarrasses the family, even though clearly some of them have super obvious issues. I'm not sure if I'm being emotionally abused. One commenter linked this article and it rang really true for me. I don't think of myself as a victim, so I'm not ready to make this claim, but I'm open to considering the possibility. I do notice a significant number of things in my marriage walk a blurry line. There seem to be a lot of convenient excuses about why things have to be a certain way and disproportionate reaction if I challenge them that makes it not worth it. I've just seen it as compromise so far. On the whole I think our life has been pretty good, but a lot of that does seem conditional on not angering my wife. I'm not going to get a lawyer at this time. I really don't want to blow up my life. I love seeing my kids every day. Financially we're doing better than either of us could have expected. Divorce is going to be very painful and I'm not ready to turn my whole life upside down. One final thought, I don't feel good about growing old with my wife. I worry that if my mental capacity goes before hers she's going to unfairly punish me when I screw up, losing things, throwing things out, whatever. I don't know if she will be there for me, and that's a scary thought. I really hope therapy will help our relationship. Edit. Wow. So while typing up this post my wife sent me a text that she thinks I should take the bus into work because I'm in no condition to drive. I didn't think much of it until I went to leave the house and realized she removed the car keys from my keychain. I have no access to the car. I am really freaking out about this. Edit 2. I texted her to say it's not okay for her to remove my access to the car. She replied, "You are in no condition to drive. All I need is for you to get in an accident. You are tired and on a regular day aren't the most aware driver. You'll be worse today. Looking out for your well-being." I am furious, like my hands are shaking. I can't believe it. Relevant comment: has she ever shown remorse after something like this? She will acknowledge and apologize for flying off the handle. Sometimes it comes with a healthy side dose of "but what you did was awful too." She doesn't usually apologize for her retaliation behavior. My bad behavior always justifies her vengeance. Thanks everyone for your help. The comments and discussion have been invaluable to me. There are some things that I want to clear up. I don't feel unsafe in any way. Yes, she took my keys and fucked with me, but this is completely new ground that's never happened in our relationship before, and I won't put up with this shit. She does not control the money or my phone, and she didn't get to keep control of the car for long. My relationship with family/friends is not close, but it's not so far gone that I can't reach out for help. If I'm trapped, then it's only in an emotional prison of my own making. I have the ability to physically leave if I want. Also, I don't think of my wife as a monster. I know these experiences are truly awful, but they represent the absolute worst of our time together, and there is significant time between them. Most days we get along just fine. So what happened next? This is obscenely long. I don't have time to write something shorter. I went to work and spent most of the day reading every single reply and the link material/videos. Some are real eye-openers. I booked an appointment for therapy later this week. Really shook me because it described how I felt so perfectly. She's trained you for over a decade to smooth things over for her hysteria, take the blame for minor infractions, take her insults and abuse, and you've been squirming and bending over backwards trying to play a slot machine that never gives the reward for your good behavior. Her love. I'd also like to say, this other comment by /you/Diddy just did had I found particularly disturbing. You have 2 kids and a 7-year marriage and you're arguing over dumb shit that you did. Emo, these arguments don't substantiate domestic abuse from her. The way I understand emotional abuse is that arguing over dumb shit that I've done is exactly what it looks like. The abuser fixates on an infraction, real or imagined, by the victim and uses it to justify unleashing their abuse while making the victim feel like they deserve it. I am terrified of blowing up my life, screwing up my kids, getting financially ruined, only to realize at the end of it all that I was just doing stupid shit, being overly sensitive, and all I needed was to grow up and communicate better and everything would have turned out rainbows and lollipops. It's why I'm trying to exercise every option available and ignoring the overwhelming number of run now comments. After work, my wife texted me asking if I was going to our daughter's swim lesson. I said I'd catch an Uber and she texted me back, "Fine, but you have to Uber at home too. I can't have you in the same car as me. You stress me out and I need to focus on driving 100%. I said it was unfortunate that she can't be civil for a 10-minute drive and that I want the car key back tonight. There was a lot of back and forth about her taking the car this morning, and then I threw in that I'm sleeping in our bed tonight. She said I lost that privilege when I didn't come home. I said she doesn't get to decide, and she says I've somehow given up the right to our room because of what I did. She demanded space and I told her she's free to sleep in any other room if she doesn't want to join me. I arrive at swim lesson and she's sitting with my son, almost 3 years old. Since I slept in his room last night, he asks if we're going to have another sleepover. My wife seizes on the opportunity and says yes, that's a great idea, Daddy is going to sleep over again. Calmly I explain to my son we'll have the sleepover another day. My daughter comes out of her lesson and usually I get her dried and changed while my wife watches our son, but this time she encourages him to follow me to the change room. Who doesn't love the extra challenge of trying to watch a toddler while managing wet swimsuits and towels? After she says she will drive me home but only if I don't sleep in our room tonight. I start insisting and she pleads that she needs just one more night to process her feelings, so I agree. We spend the whole drive home arguing about Sunday's events. Once the kids are in bed, she demands that I get to our room now for a discussion. She's angry and starts going off about how I have no right to dictate what happens in the house and who sleeps where. I'm an entirely different kind of calm this time. Every word and action coming out of her seems to have no effect on me. Instead, I'm listening curiously and it's like I'm observing her trying to abuse me. I ask her strategic questions very calmly, like, when did we agree that you can revoke my bedroom privilege? As she turns the discussion to the initial sheet incident, she tries to guilt me about how horrible my actions were, and I ask why she thinks I reacted that way. Her anger is growing by the minute. I ask why she felt it was okay to call me a fucking retard, and she lost her shit, yelling in my face, because you were a fucking retard. What idiot throws out perfectly good sheets? I called you a retard because of all the stupid shit you do. I really do think you're retarded. She can see this isn't having the desired effect on me at all. She tells me that she hates me and that she's always hated me since our daughter was born, 5 years ago, but has only stayed with me for the children. She starts pulling out every argument we've had for the past 5 years and yelling about how awful I've been and how hard it's been to be with me. It goes on and on and on for a good half hour, and the whole time I'm observing and all I see is her trying to abuse me. And then she just ran out of things to say. After a few minutes she asks, so now what? Calmly I told her that with so much hidden resentment, at least now I know why she treats me that way and that we need to work through this with therapy and counseling. I also mention that I think she has a deep fear that I'm going to abandon our marriage, but I'm committed to making things work. She bursts out into tears. She wants to hug me and I oblige. We embrace and it's genuine on her part, but inside I'm hesitant to fully enjoy it. She smiles and looks at me and I can see she's happy, and then she says I can sleep in our room tonight. My son wakes up and calls out for me. I go and try to settle him, but he becomes hysterical, screaming that he doesn't want me to leave. He's hyperventilating. My wife comes and says he did the same thing the night I didn't come home. I can see her mood is shifting to uncomfortable. After a lot of hugs and holding him for a while, he calms down and I put him back in his bed. After settling the dogs and returning to bed, my wife says out of the blue that she has to stop saying things to hurt me. I agree and I'm really hopeful about our future. Then she says she has a problem with the counseling idea, and admits she's being stubborn, but brings up that she suggested counseling years ago and I said we didn't need it at the time, so why should we go now just because I want to go? I'm a little put off and say I was wrong in the past and clearly we need it because our problems are really deep. She says it's always about what I want and why should she pay someone when she's read up on relationships and all we need is to talk to each other each week. I said I think we really need a professional involved and she says we really don't have time for that with our busy schedules. She then says that just because I feel like we need it that doesn't mean it's true. She adds that I'm the one with issues by flying off the handle when she insults me. I tell her that insults aren't acceptable to me and she says that's just my opinion and she wouldn't get upset if I called her names. At this point I'm getting confused because what the actual fuck? We have a very long and calm debate about whether it's acceptable to call your partner a retard, moron, etc. She ran her story by her work friends and says they said it's a completely reasonable response to my tossing the sheets. It was retarded, so I'm a retard. I'm at a loss, I don't even know what to say, so I say I guess we have different opinions about this. She counters by saying that my problem is I think my opinion is the normal one but actually the way I react to insults is not normal, and if I insult her like that she wouldn't get upset, like most people. We have a lot of back and forth about times when I had an opinion and treated it like fact but it turned out I was wrong. It's after midnight and we're exhausted. We say good night and turn out the lights. The next morning we are civil to each other in our usual morning routine. Thanks if you made it this far. I don't know what to make of my situation. I'm repeatedly calling into question whether we're just really poor communicators or I was just too shitty of a husband earlier in our marriage. Full disclosure, I was a shitty husband early in our marriage. I didn't do bad things but I didn't do much to make her feel special either. When discussions heated up I would withdraw and go to silence. I've done a lot of work on myself over the years and for at least the 12 months I've been a superstar husband. Edit, I am planning on getting a divorce in 6 months. I need therapy first. I can't do something so drastic based solely on a Reddit thread. If the therapist echoes Reddit sentiment I will accelerate. I recently awoke to the fact that I'm in an emotionally, and recently verbally, abusive relationship with my wife for 17 years, 7 years married. I found out from a Reddit post asking for advice during a bad fight that lasted 3 days. Even after my final update I was still in denial about her nature, but as I read various links and books recommended to me it became very clear that I'm married to a narcissist, and the prognosis is grim. I am completely shaken by this revelation. I always knew we had relationship problems but I thought I brought them on myself. I strive to be a better husband and for the past year I finally got my act together and made sure all her needs were met. I can't begin to describe my dismay when my wife complained that the only reason I did such a great job with her birthday/Valentine's/Mother's Day this year was because of how badly I screwed it up in the prior year, as if my efforts didn't count. Months later when the completely unexpected fight broke out I was devastated. I had poured every ounce of my soul into being a better person to the point that even she admitted things had been going well in our relationship. Yet her verbal and psychological abuse was off the charts. I couldn't understand. I'm in therapy now, but I'm an emotional wreck. Some days I feel betrayed/angry and then empowered, thinking about the freedom and new life I might forge after leaving her, but most days I'm filled with terrible anxiety. We are back to normal and even some days she is so kind and thoughtful towards me I'm filled with dread that I've read the situation wrong. I'm thankful that I journaled the ordeal because the abuse amnesia is setting in and reading my old posts provides irrefutable evidence that I am not in a normal relationship. The cognitive dissonance is tearing apart my soul. I don't have anybody real to talk to about what I'm going through other than my therapist. I'm really struggling to cope and dangerously close to slipping back into the spell I've been under, but I don't think I can even if I wanted to. I'll never see her the same way again. Yet fixing her is so unlikely. She is absolutely against individual therapy to address her anger issues and I know it's only a matter of time before until the next narcissistic rage. Living this way is torture, with deep apologies to those other posters whose stories I've read that sound so much worse. Today I woke up and a thought entered my mind, you don't have to be sorry for misbehaving, referring to how I profusely apologized to my wife for running away that first day. I finally understood why all those Redditors were so angry/frightened/upset about me apologizing for how I reacted. I guess that's something, progress, but the closer I get to fully accepting my reality the more distraught and unstable I feel. It's obvious she loves having me in her life, but it's like she can't believe that I love her, so she needs to manipulate me and keep me under her control because she's terrified I'll leave her. She took advantage of my trust and goodwill. She's broken and I can't fix her. When everything is going her way she is wonderful and kind. When she sustains a narcissistic injury she becomes a raging monster. Last weekend I moved out. My kids are upstairs passed out for the night. They spend 50-50 time with each of us. For the first time in a very long time I feel certain of myself. After the argument I couldn't see my wife the same way. I would reflexively pull away when she touched me. I was sad all the time. I was in complete disbelief that for nearly 2 decades there was something wrong with my wife and I never realized it. Until now. I would wake up with nightmares of old fights where she would treat me awful and I was so confused and would do anything to earn her forgiveness, and now it all made sense. I wondered if I had been in love with some fictional person that I created in my mind. I grieved as if I had lost a loved one. In the weeks that followed, I was an emotional roller coaster while she behaved in perplexing and scary ways. The more I learned about emotional manipulation, the more I saw it in almost everything she did. I became suspicious of every word or action. It was maddening for us both. It would be pages of scrolling to describe all the craziness, so here's a few highlights. A couple weeks and therapy sessions later, I decide it's time to try and set boundaries. I figure I'll go for low-hanging fruit. Hey, I want to talk about that discussion we had before about calling me insulting names. The goals of this trial separation are: 1. I get space from her since I've become bitter and distrusting/paranoid. 2. She gets time and space to work on herself. Alexithymia and Narcissism focused therapy workbooks. 3. I get time and space to work on myself, building self-respect and working out how I got here. 4. Hold her accountable for her behavior and show her that if she treats me poorly I will leave her. 5. Prove to myself that I'm strong enough to leave and won't back down because of words, tears, or guilt. It's 3 months of low contact. We talk once per week over coffee. Then I'm open to going on a date. So, fellow Redditors, is there any hope at all for this trial separation concept? I prefer to be married to the mother of my children, and not be financially devastated, and she really is wonderful when she's not manipulating or raging. She has no abusive power over me. She squirms when I point out any shifty or selfish behavior. She wants to change. A side effect of alexithymia is an aversion to therapy due to being forced to talk about feelings. Am I, still, delusional? Am I on the right path? Note, no legal advice please. I'm only interested in the relationship angle. A final note, for me the most empowering comments that allowed me to break free from the fog was that my feelings matter. Pointing out how much of a monster she was didn't change anything for me because I knew her bad behavior was bad, just that I thought I was the cause or that I could prevent or mitigate it. Only when I started realizing that my feelings mattered and she was ignoring them and purposefully doing things to hurt them when not hurting them would be so easy was I able to pull myself out and demand respect. I don't know if that would be the same for others in manipulative or controlling relationships, but it was really key for me and might be something to keep in mind. On the topic of narcissists, I find a lot of the material to be all doom and gloom. It almost feels like the victims of narcissists suffer the same black and white thinking that narcissists themselves use. It's something for me to sort out. I feel hope, even if it doesn't logically make sense. I guess I hope the consequences of me actually leaving will get through to her, and her fear of abandonment will drive her to actually work on changing. Then again, the story of the scorpion and the frog might apply. I discovered it when I made a Reddit post from a hotel room after an argument. Life was confusing, so many happy times but always the fear that she could turn to a nightmare on a whim if things were not going her way. Thankfully it wasn't physically abusive like many others, but it seems like she knew how to keep it just below the threshold that would cause me to leave. I also enabled her by not putting a stop to her behavior sooner. I found it's directly related to what she thinks she can get away with. At 6 months she was not so aggressive because she knew I had other options. It sounds like your girlfriend thinks either you would never leave, she's your only option, or she's very afraid of you leaving, and hopes to scare you into staying. Studying manipulation tactics was very empowering for me. Recognizing when someone is inviting you to feel guilt, shame, or finding some way of switching the blame around so they are the victim and you are the villain even though they are acting awful. Once you know the game, you can choose not to play it. Take action before 2 years becomes 2 decades. Don't be me. If you really want to salvage this, you're going to have to tell her you can't be with someone that doesn't respect you. Then leave and don't get back with her until she realizes the error of her ways, hopefully with therapy. Important she actually shows you with actions and not just words and tears. Also important you show her that you are not trapped or without options if she can't behave. Plenty of fish in the sea, especially at such a young age.